I've been looking at this for some time, and I was unsure until someone in one of the garden club lectures said that all these turkey oak trees were dying next to the Florida Turnpike, and he found out they were associated with the 5G towers being turned on. And he has absolutely no connection or interest in cell tower radiation. He's just a PhD agriculture guy who just observes things. So that's, I think, really convinced me that this is something that you have to treat like another threat to your health. Now, there are a lot of things one can do. I read Dr. McCullough's book on the 5G, but there's so many things to do. Can you give us a list of priorities? For example, if I want to run Ethernet cables, that's a big job. That's running hundreds of feet and threading, snaking them down through the walls. I could turn off the Wi-Fi, for example, at night, but that turns to be a challenge because, I don't know, my UMA thing is like sucking all the bandwidth. So can you give us an order priority on what things we should try to go for to get the most bang for the buck?
Well, now my mom has UMA, which I set her up with, and we have no problem with we have the UMA. So UMA is a voice over IP, so you can have a telephone through your internet service, for everyone who's wondering. And you have to buy the hardware. Make sure that hardware is wired rather than wirelessly connecting to the router, and that it's wired connected to your phones. And then that should work. But there are other issues that come up with turning the Wi-Fi off at night. So sometimes you do need to take some time to learn about what you have and get maybe your own modem. We recommend getting your own modem. But I would start with reduce exposure to your cell phone. Go around your house. What do you have that's wireless? It's shocking what we have in our homes that's wireless. It's like picking apples off a tree. Next thing you know, it's like, oh, this. Get rid of whatever you are really not using. Turn the things off that you're not using all the time. Swap out the things which are wireless, with the wired corded technology. That's like the first thing. Get your bedroom set up. At a minimum, please, if you walk away from this talk, clear all the screens and electronics out of your bedroom. Have everything powered off at night in your bedroom. Make sure your head isn't against the wall with a utility meter on the other side. I didn't even talk about smart meters. But then with the internet, I thought it would be such a big deal to go wired in my home, but actually it was simpler than it seemed. Not in every situation. I've moved 3 times. I've had 3 situations. A lot of Ethernet cords. This is just to show people what we're talking about here. This is an Ethernet cord, and you can plug it in to an adapter, and then the radiation runs through the wire, not through your body. Those are important, but also getting involved in your community to make the change that really needs to happen, which is policy change. When I learned about this issue, I did not know who my elected officials were. I didn't know. I was not political. I wasn't. I voted for president, and I was very involved at work, working in domestic violence and in kids' mental health issues, but I wasn't involved in laws. I didn't even know how the government really worked. Actually, I had to kind of go back to class and realize, oh, this is how things work. Who is my city council person? And get to know them, meet them, make your voice be heard. This is very, very important. And it's part of like what we need to do to have a healthy earth. And I would recommend that, is getting involved in a group and educating people. So you heard about the trees. And I put, by the way, a link about trees and wireless radiation. Well, that was because someone spoke up and talked about it. We need to talk about this issue. Everything we do will make a difference on this issue. Ultimately, we need safer technology from the manufacturers and from the companies.
Thanks, Theodora. Sage advice. And now we're going to go over to Janet. Hi, Janet. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for this information. I know your website. Last night I listened to and saw the different places on your website. But the use of things, I think it's just so confusing because there is so many things that are wired versus Wi-Fi versus internet versus corded. Some have a base near you. Like, for instance, I was in sales. I used a headset on my head that allowed me to walk around the building while I was talking to people. That was wireless. It was in my ears. People have my son bought me an Apple Watch. He says, "Why don't you use it?" I said, "Well, I only use it when I'm walking. When I want to monitor, I don't use it all day like you do." He was on Xbox for hours and hours with cordless headsets, talking to, his friends for hours on, with cordless remote controls in his hands. I just recently, about 6 months ago, got the new 5G iPhone, and I noticed when I'm holding it, whether it's charging or not, my fingers and my wrists, I could almost feel tingling. So I'm not sure if other people experience, I don't remember getting that type of tingling in my fingers and wrists when I used my 4G phone. So there's just so much information that we need to educate ourselves about. Is this all on your website in detail? I don't want to take up the time because your presentation covered a lot, but could you point us to, yes, it's on your website. This is what we need to do.
Yes, and I'll put it in again, a link to Technology Facts, How to Reduce Exposure, which is how to reduce exposure. And one of the issues is that because this is so much information, we are rising to the challenge of putting it on our website in a way that you can find what you need. And you may say, I can't find what I need. Go to the menu and look at what the drop down and to find what you're looking for, if it's science or how to reduce exposure or what you need to know. To your question of tingling, yes, oh my goodness, so many people have this issue of the tingling in their legs when they put the phone in their pocket, tingling or headaches when they put the phone up to their head. And there's research showing, headaches from cell phone radiation and from wireless. And the new phones some of them have warnings about pacemakers, right? They say, keep away from the pacemaker because of the magnetic fields. And yet they don't warn about, our heart is keeping the beat. I mean, our bodies, every cell in our body is reverberating from whatever is in the environment, and we're not warned about that. So definitely keep the phone away from you. If you're having tingling or other symptoms like that, what I've heard from people who've developed electromagnetic sensitivity, also called microwave illness, is that's sort of the beginning signs. You don't want to then keep the devices near your body, because that can get worse to where you are not even able to it's more than tingling, it becomes more than tingling. So notice that if you're getting tingling, if you're getting headaches, if you're getting rashes from technology. Someone just wrote, my 5G iPhone makes my hands tingle and hurt. They travel up my arm if I continue to hold it. Remember that when you hold a device in your hand, the electricity and the electric field is going into your body. You actually can become part of the antenna itself. It's best to, if you have to use a phone, put it on a table on speaker away from your body. And we have to start using safer technologies whenever possible. Like you talking about your son and your family using devices. I use devices up to my head, on my body, my kids all the time. We've all been there. And you think of it like food. You can always start when you start. You just start, right? There's no time like the present to begin the process of making safer choices, healthier choices with food, just like with technology. You take each step and everything makes a huge difference.